Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Looking for a system that'll grow your business and the potential of your workers? Dan Bruder thinks he has the system. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Glad to be here.
Dan, you've written a book, The BLENDIFICATION System. Can you give us an overview of what that is?
Yeah, I think if we look at the BLENDIFICATION system, it really evolved from the concept of life being much more blended than separate or even segregated. So several years ago, I did a TEDx talk about the blendification of work and life. And that's really where it came out of. As the system evolved, I really started focusing on business and how do we blend businesses together, because what I found is that businesses tend to operate in silos. What happens is we have a marketing group that works by themselves, a product group that's doing product research or something like that, and sales is out doing their thing. But the truth is a company that is really blended together is one that that will succeed at the highest level. And I look at this a little different. I think business is really the catalyst for creating change in our society. And in order to do this, business needs to be operating on all cylinders. And unfortunately, over the last, I'd say about 40, 50 years, business has been sold a bill of goods, basically saying that the only thing we should focus on is return on shareholder wealth, which is a nice metric to have in the inventory or buffet of metrics, but it's not the only metric out there. And so really what I came up with is this idea that an organization that intentionally blends its culture, its strategy, and its execution platform together will have a better chance at realizing its potential as an organization. And of course, if we look at our organizational potential, we also individually have an opportunity to realize our potential when we start really maximizing the potential of those around us. So
if a company has a good culture, and I'm very big on that, and of course we've heard that from a lot of guests, doesn't that funnel down to everything, or am I mistaken?
Well, I think in theory it may, and organically it may happen, but in practice what I've seen is that organizations will bring in a culture consultant, and they'll talk about redoing their vision or mission, but they haven't taken that culture and driven it down within the organization. So the way I look at this is we really need to define, disseminate, develop our culture at a certain level, and then go back and develop a strategic platform that allows us to pursue what it is we're really after. So within our culture, we actually define the organizational cause. What is the organization trying to do? What's its intention for its employees, customers, and communities? And then we go build a strategic platform based on what we want to be as an organization, which really fuels our culture. Then after that, we come back and look at that and say, well, we need to really look at what behaviors and habits we need to have within our organization that will enliven our cause and intention, but also allow us to pursue what we say is important within our strategic platform. So now what we start doing is we develop a culture and a strategy in unison, as opposed to having a culture consultant and then maybe once every 1 or 2 years have somebody come facilitate a strategic planning retreat. They're really synonymous. And that's how I look at it. In order for companies to really be at their best, they have to combine and intentionally develop culture and strategy together, and then also throw in the execution model too.
I love that, and it makes a lot of sense to me, but how does that help the individual? I mean, and we're all glad to help the company. We feel good. Of course, we usually benefit in some way, but you talk about helping the individual potential. How does that funnel down to them?
Well, personally, I look at some statistics, and there's two glaring statistics, Bill, that jump out at me, is that nearly 90% of the U.S. workforce works in for-profit or nonprofit organizations. So most of us work in companies, and there's a labor force of about 150 million. So if we look at that, and then we say, well, most people Most of us that work spend over 50% of our waking time in work or work-related activities. So basically what happens is we spend most of our time in work or work-related activities. So in order for us to reach our individual potential, we need to really look at work as a place that we can actually pursue our potential. So if we want to accomplish something in life and we feel really passionate about something, and then we say, well, I'm going to be very passionate about this cause, but I'm not going to do that for 50% of my waking time. I kind of reverse that around. I say that we should actually be trying to pursue our individual potential by helping others pursue their potential, and mostly at work, because that's where we spend most of our time. Most of us work, most of us spend most of our time at work. So therefore, in order for us to pursue our individual potential, we have to look at what we're doing at work. It would almost be naive for us to think that we can achieve our own individual potential without at least considering what we can do at work or work's impact on my own individual potential or my ability to make something happen special in my life.
I certainly agree with you there, because the people I've seen that are the happiest and enjoy what they're doing, it's where they see this as a part of their life, like what eating a hamburger is to me. It's something I enjoy. It's something I'm going to look forward to. You don't have to tell them to do it. The doctor who cares about his patient, or the dentist who cares about her patient, they want to do this. They want to be into this. How about this pandemic we have here? What influence is that having on your system, good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, if we jump back to the back end of this, the execution side of this. So if we have our culture, our strategy, and our execution completely aligned, what happens is that when things change outside our company, I call them external impacts, and COVID-19 happens to be a dramatic shift or a dramatic impact from the external environment that impacts our business. We can't do anything about it. COVID happens. The only thing we can do is respond and react. So what we need is an agile execution model. So specifically what happens in companies that are operating with the blendification system, back in March when this came, we have a whole series of structured meetings that we put together that are strategically and execution-oriented meetings. So one of them is what I call Roots Groups meetings. Another one is a connection meeting where our Roots Groups, our team, our company, is connecting back to the senior leadership team. So what we did in the companies that were operating with the blendification system in March, right when this came out, we said, let's have some emergency connection meetings. So what we started doing is we created an internal operating model that was looking at what was going on externally, constantly looking at the information, then bringing it into our already predetermined structured meetings that are consistent with our strategy. So what we had was a very agile strategic execution model, but it was also a very agile culture. So the culture and the strategy and the execution were completely aligned. So now as we've gone through this now for 6-7 months, these emergency meetings have really become part of the DNA, and we're constantly looking at the data that's going on outside. What is the government, in Colorado specifically, our governor has offered several different orders. So we already have an infrastructure in the companies that are using this. All we have to do is just align our focus on what's going on outside and then adapt our individual behaviors, habits, and actions so that we can maximize what's going on relative to COVID. It's not a good thing by any stretch, but we as leaders and organizations need to be agile and react to that. So that's where this agile strategic execution model comes into play. And we really put this throughout the organization, have multiple different people looking at what's going on, and then a structured process within the company to actually work on it. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. Everything you're saying makes wonderful sense. I think it's tough to do. And of course, you being the expert, it's easy for you to explain it. But I think in a day-to-day basis. Now, can you give us an idea of any of the companies, either by name or just the type of company you're working with and how this works in the real world?
Yeah, well, there's obviously several companies. One company that's here in the Denver area, American Data Bank. They're a fairly rapidly growing company, and they've actually gone through the whole culture strategy, and then also a bunch of leadership development programs that also reinforce the culture and the strategy. So they're a great company doing wonderful things. Now, one of the things they do, ironically, is that they store and track medical records for people, and particularly vaccine records.
There you go. Perfect. Oh, what a time.
So they're in a great position because, with the vaccine coming out, that's going to just go right into their system. So they've done a tremendous job implementing the whole system. Their culture's on fire. And what happens is really our culture is a function of our behaviors, habits, how we get along, how we talk, our rituals, things like that. So if we challenge our people, going back to what you said, Bill, when people are really passionate about something and they're making a difference, that actually feeds our culture. So that's one of the things they've done. They actually see how their organization plays a role in this changing dynamic within the world with COVID. And so that we want to see a supercharged culture based on their product, their plan, and their process. You look at this company called American Data Bank. They're awesome. There's another company here that I've worked with that's Encore Electric, a super strong company with great values, great foundation. They're a large commercial electrical company, and they do really complex projects. But what they do is, in order to develop people, they have their own basically employee development program. So they go out to the high schools and recruit people and put them on 2 to 3 year programs to start training them to become electricians within the organization. Of course, there was a very tight labor market. It's not as tight now, but they did this in response to a very tight labor market. And they're meeting and working through what I call, like I said, the roots groups meetings, the connection meetings, looking for ways to constantly be better based on what's going on outside the organization.
Dan, before we go further, I'd like our audience to know that you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest today is Daniel Bruder, spelled Bruder. His book is The Blendification System. And Dan, we'll ask you, one, where we can get the book, and if there's a website where we can find out more information.
Of course, you can get it on Amazon. That's the easiest place to get it. You can also go to my website to find out any information. My website is BLENDIFICATIONSYSTEM.com. On my website, I also have a whole video series, which is free. Anybody can get on that, and a whole video series that really highlights some of the key points within the book. And that's just right on the book page of BLENDIFICATIONSYSTEM.com. And
we'll ask you that information again, so if someone didn't get it before the end of the show, but as we tell our audience every week, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. If you want to get something new, the Blendification System sounds like some great ideas. If it's going to make your workers happier, fulfill their potential, and make your business grow. And you know Dan's going to be rich because he probably has stock in that company that's doing the verification of vaccines. So if you need a loan, you can go to Dan. He'll probably open up a bank in a few years, and he'll take care of you. And now I've got you in a lot of trouble, and you're going to be getting requests from everybody for money. Dan, you mentioned in your book that most companies do not provide a reason for employees to love their work. Is that the responsibility of the company? How come you mentioned that?
Well, I believe it's the responsibility of our leaders, but I'll even take it a step further, higher level. I believe it's the responsibility of all companies. If we go back and we look at the foundation of why this country chose to go down somewhat of a free market type structure, it was because our founding fathers believed that organizations, free markets, will actually solve problems, create better communities. So if we looked at this, the business was really a microcosm of our overall economic system. So the business was meant to be part of the community, so to solve the problems of its community by having good products, good services. And if we go back, that really business was meant to be part of the community in order to enhance the community. Now we enhance the community by helping our employees, because they obviously get paid, but they also spend time and learn and grow from us. We also enhance our communities by the products and services that we provide to our customers. So we start enhancing customers' lives. And then we also enhance our communities by actually putting our people out there and making an impact on our various different communities. So to me, I believe that businesses have the responsibility to better integrate into their communities by helping their employees, customers, and whatever they do in order to train and develop these folks. So rather than just saying it's important or hey, come to work, to me it's all about creating a more blended system. Like I said earlier, Bill, we spend most of our time at work. Let's make it mean something.
And you mentioned too, in keeping with that people are motivated by a common cause. For instance, could you give us an example in one of the companies? What would you say is the common? I think a lot of them would say common cause is the paycheck. But what is the common cause that most people in the company that you may use that as an example? What are we working for? What's driving those people?
Yeah, a company popped into my head, and I won't have this exactly right, but there was a company, it's an HVAC company called Low Miller and Company. They're the largest distributor of Carrier West product in the western United States. Their cause was something to the effect, don't quote me, that their role in society is creating more comfort for their communities, and you can change the words. So, that was kind of a starting point for us, creating comfort for their customers. But what has really happened is it's evolved into comfort and safety, because with coronavirus, they've been able to develop and put out various different systems that filter the air better. So essentially, what they're saying is that with their HVAC systems, their filtration systems are not only creating comfort, but their cause is actually creating better lives by saving lives because of this COVID thing, because they can actually pull whatever this COVID virus, when it gets airborne, I guess their filters can clean it up. So their cause is really about their customers. So when this all happened, they looked at how their product can actually solve some of these problems that we were seeing relative to COVID. And I don't know what the percentage is, but it's in the upper 90% that they're putting clean air back into buildings. And one other thing they did, which is really cool, is they didn't just work with their customers and went out to their customers and said, hey, we have a better system that will clean your air. They gave every single employee a whole new ventilation system so that they would have clean air at home, knowing one thing, that all these people were working from home more, and they wanted to make sure that their homes were taken care of. So it was a really, really cool thing. And when we talk about employees, customers, and communities, this is a really good example of an organization that went inside, took care of their customers, but didn't forget their employees. And their product is actually inside every one of their employees' houses right now. And they did it for free. It was pretty cool.
Honestly, that is, and I mean, I think that's a great example of the kind of company we all either want to work for or want to invest in. And I hope you're getting paid in stock with all these companies, because you're going to be the richest guy in town pretty soon, I think. It sounds like at least the companies you've mentioned are really in the right time, right place for what they're doing. And also by treating the people right and giving them these machines to have in their home, obviously they're taking care of their employees, their family. And if I'm one of their employees, I want to take care of them because they're taking care of me. Now, the blendification system has a leadership pyramid. Can you tell us about that and how that works into the average company?
Yeah, the leadership intelligence pyramid. So we're all familiar with cognitive intelligence, IQ. And we grew up with that, and we were basically paid or rewarded to get good grades in class. So the IQ is our general level of intelligence or smartness, I guess you could say. And then the second level is emotional intelligence, and that's EQ. Of course, that was popularized by Daniel Goleman back in the 90s. And we really went on a multi-decade run here. We're talking about emotional intelligence and its importance. And some people have even said emotional intelligence is more important than cognitive intelligence or IQ. And but I was really thinking about this too. And when organizations are really looking to fulfill their potential, to get better, to make a bigger impact, they all need to be working together. And quite frankly, cognitive intelligence and emotional intelligence to me isn't enough. They're very important ingredients. To me, what we need is what we call system intelligence, and that's the ability to look at multiple different systems, how they work together, complement each other, so that they create a better outcome as a whole. So if I look at an organization, it's really a system of various different components, and we could be the smartest, most emotionally intelligent people in the world, but if we can't help these systems cooperate and work together, then we're not going to reach our potential. So to me, this system intelligence or this leadership intelligence pyramid is really about combining or blending together cognitive intelligence, emotional intelligence, and system intelligence. System intelligence is the one at the top, and that's our ability to look at all the different impacts within an organization and orchestrate a process where they connect together. It doesn't stop with that, because my own system intelligence individually, how do I become more system intelligence system intelligent is looking at how I'm impacting others, not just the person in front of me, but if I do something at work, I know that's going to have a corresponding impact to that person I'm working with. It's either going to be positive, negative, or neutral. And if I can make more interactions more positive, I can ensure that they're going to go work better with the other people in the organization down the road, but they're also going to become better parents. They're going to become better spouses. They're going to become better friends. They're going to become better community members if we treat people better at work by being more system intelligently aware. And that's really what we're trying to do. I'm not suggesting by any stretch that that cognitive intelligence or emotional intelligence are not necessary. My point is that we really need to have all three of these, cognitive, system, and emotional intelligence, so that we can maximize our potential as a human being and as a leader.
Dan, you're winning me over. I definitely want to work for one of these companies. And certainly based on the ones you've talked about, I think I want to invest in them too. Dan, at this point in the show, I'd like to remind our audience that, again, you're listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan. Our guest today is Daniel Bruder, Bruder. His book is The BLENDIFICATION System. And Dan, again, we'll ask you where we can get the book, and if there's a website where we can get some more information, follow up on this, and maybe start moving this system into our business.
Yes, obviously, BLENDIFICATIONSystem.com is the website. Amazon, you can get the book there. I have a whole series of tools, free tools on my website that people can access information. If anybody ever wants information, they can always contact me on my contact page on my website, and I'll get right back to them. But the book really lays out a systematic process for, in my opinion, taking companies to a completely higher level than we've ever thought possible. And that's really what I'm looking to accomplish.
And I think we're in an era today when we have to start looking at it that way. There's so much going on. We can't follow the old. We've got to look for the new. Now, you mentioned in your book about something called a statement of cause, and you say we should replace the vision statement with a statement of cause. Why is that? What's so different between a vision statement? You know, many of us have goals or company goals, and a statement of cause.
Yeah, and there's nothing inherently wrong with a vision statement or a mission statement. I teach at 2 universities, Bill, and I notice when we talk vision and mission with the students in the undergrad and graduate schools, they tend to frown their eyes. Quite honestly, I don't know if the vision and mission statement really resonates with this next generation. And so what I think is that we really need to look really hard at what people are working for. Are we working for a vision of a founder of a company, or are we working for a cause that I can basically get behind, a cause that really impacts me? A vision to me is kind of a bit dreamy. A cause is something that I can sink my teeth into. And I think when we build this out in organizations, this isn't a vision of a founder or a vision of 3 or 4 people in a company. This is creating an inherently strong cause inside the company that we can wake up in the morning, that gets us out of bed. I don't usually wake up in the morning for a vision, but I'll wake up in the morning and get really motivated about a cause. And so I'm just simply suggesting we replace that with a more substantial cause, intention, and then reinforce that with behaviors and habits, as opposed to a vision. Nothing wrong with a vision. A lot of companies have great visions. The other aspect of that is typically visions and missions aren't really strategically connected. They're just things or platitudes that we write on walls or we send out in emails. But a cause actually takes us down the road that now we actually have to build our strategy that allows us to pursue and achieve our cause. To me, it's just more substantial, and it also motivates people. And I know there's a lot of talk about motivation, and there's a lot of different things we can do, but it really starts out with, what are we actually working for? Why do we spend half of our life, half of our waking time in this place called work if it's not really creating something special in our individual lives?
You know, Dan, everything you're saying is making a lot of sense to me, and I'm thinking of it, again, nothing wrong with having a goal or a mission, but if I have a cause, whether it's religion, political, my favorite sports team, I'm probably going to work harder for that and to get people to root for the Mets or the New York Knicks or the football Giants or something than I am just because someone said this is the mission, let's go root for the team. Rah, 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 so what? But if I'm passionate about it, and of course that's what causes bring out in us. Now, you have a term in your book which takes from our Secrets of Success term, and it's called earned success. And it says, you say that earned success motivates peak performance. Can you define what you mean by earned success, and how does it lead to peak performance?
Yeah, earned success to me, and there's been studies written about this, about what really makes somebody, at the end of somebody's life, when they look back and say, what was the most fulfilling in life? What is the most fulfilling thing? How did I receive, like we call joy? How do I feel like I did something special in my life? It was typically something or many things where they actually did something that they initially didn't believe they could do. So it stretched their thinking. They typically did it with other people. And what happens is when we experience earned success, and earned success is essentially working hard at something and sometimes not believing right off the bat that we can get it done and achieving it. So when we work really hard, we work with ourselves, we work with other people towards something special, and we achieve it. Now we look back and say, that was a really, really good time in our life. That was fulfilling for me. And that creates happiness. Not happiness, the short-term emotion, but happiness, the long-term fulfilling thing that's inside of us. So earned success is really this idea of working really hard, accomplishing something that is significant in our life over time. Now, what we need to do as leaders is build earned success opportunities inside our company, and we do that by creating meaningful goals that appear hard, that may be challenging, but we rely on others to get there. And by doing this over a period of time, it becomes cultural, and now we actually start getting closer and closer to realizing what our true cause is. So to me, I don't think we can pursue our cause unless we have inherently built in our companies earned success opportunities, whether that's milestones, whether that's what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. But we also need to stretch people. We can't coddle people, so to speak. We need to stretch people's thinking. We know that once we get outside our comfort zone, we start learning, growing, and developing over time. And as leaders, we need to systematically create these little minute opportunities to realize earned success, because now we're going to start feeling fulfillment by our work, and we're going to start seeing that we're more motivated every time we come to work when we can start working towards something significant, working with people, and experience success along the way. We don't always know we're going to do it. We don't always know we're going to achieve these things, but when we do, it really fills us up. You know, that idea of fulfilling, that's what we're really talking about doing.
Dan, I love it, and I love the title. So I hope if you're thinking of another book coming out, so many books are telling us how to be successful by cutting corners, working a 4-hour week, and letting everybody else do the work. But just as you said, when you were saying that, I was thinking, when I do something and I really earn my success, whether it's a long paper or a study or research, I feel great after it, and it empowers me. So I hope that's the title of your next book. Before we wrap up today, because we're talking about the blendification system, tell us once again, where is the website that we can go to find out more? BLENDIFICATIONSYSTEM.com. You can also Google Dan Bruder TED Talk, and you'll see my TED Talk that I did a few years ago too on the topic as well. And Dan, your last name for our audience is spelled BRUDER, and again, the book is The Blendification System. Dan, thanks so much for being with us today. I'd like our audience to know that they've been listening to The Secrets of Success on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan, asking you to please join us again next week at the same time when we'll continue our journey to success.